And welcome to episode 12 of the DX Mentor Hamvention Recap. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bill, AJB, the DX Mentor. My guests are DX gurus that we can all learn from. In this episode, we will discuss the 2023 Dayton Hamvention that was held just a few weeks ago. My guests are Joe, WAGEX, Mike, W0VTT, and Jim, AB8YK. Joe has been attending Hamvention for years. Mike is a veteran of many Hamfests as well as regional Hamfests in the Midwest. And Jim was the 2023 General Chairman and will be the 2024 General Chairman of Hamvention. What a great group to recap Hamvention from a DXer's point of view. Now, let's tune into these gurus and find out what they're talking about. Well, hello and welcome to the DX Mentor podcast. I'm Bill, AJ8B, the DX Mentor, and I've got several DX gurus tonight on this special edition. All about Hamvention. I spent quite a bit of time out there last weekend and just absolutely had a blast, enjoyed myself. And I just thought I'd get some good friends together and talk about what we enjoyed and what we didn't. For those things that we enjoyed, we'll tip a glass to each other. And for those things we didn't, we actually have the general chairman of the Hamvention with us tonight. So if we didn't enjoy something, we'll direct that towards him. So I'll have my guests introduce themselves and we'll just kind of get off and running. So Joe, take it away.
Well, thanks, Bill. Thanks for the invite tonight. I'm Joe, WAGEX. I got licensed back in 1970. Worked all band, all modes. I really like 6 meters. Always been very interested in 6 meters and still am today. And I've worked some of the awards, got them hanging on the wall back here. So that's about it in a nutshell, Bill.
Okay, and then we have Mike, W0VTT from the frozen tundra.
Good evening, everyone. Mike, W0VTT. I'm not really from the frozen tundra. I'm from southern Minnesota. So it's only frozen for half of the year. Been a ham since 75. I'm a CW guy. I'm a DXer. And I think my first Hamvention was in 86 or 87. I've been about 30 times now, and it's still fun. Back to you, Bill.
Okay. And our special guest is the general chairman and an all-around good guy, Jim, AB8YK. Go ahead, Jim.
Thanks, Bill, for this invitation. And I feel I'm in the auspices of great people here. Don't know why I am. But I'm the new kid on the block. I've actually was licensed in 2002. I am extra class. Unfortunately, I don't talk with my fingers. Bill keeps chiding me about that, and I need to work on CW one of these days. But my on air has been limited because of the Hamvention activities and everything. I am a past president of Sodexa. Past vice president for DARA and a bunch of other clubs. And currently I spent 2 years as assistant general chair. And now I've had my first year as general chair for Hamvention. And that's kind of my story in a nutshell. I am a DXCC. So at least I've got that done.
Okay. And when does planning for 2024 start?
Actually, I've talked to one person about a couple of things for 2024 already. Specifically, we've already started working on the theme for 2024. We've got about a month and a half of wrap up, all the paperwork and everything else, and getting final counts and making the big announcement. And then we start right away on next year. So there's not a lot of time wasted.
Great. And so this was your first year as the general chairman. Was there any surprises that hit you?
Yes. The biggest surprise was also the saddest surprise was in February when Ron Kramer passed away. He was a great guy and a mentor to me for this. He's the guy that actually was responsible for the move when we moved to Xenia. A lot of history and knowledge was lost with his passing, and it was a hard thing. He was a good personal friend. So that was the biggest surprise. And the other was we've lost several members. I lost about 5 chairs to death over the last few months. So it made stuff kind of reactive, but everybody stepped up, and all my chairs did a great job in doing anything, along with all the myriads of other volunteers we have.
And if you knew 5 months ago what you know now, the one tweak or change you'd make would be?
I had to quit. No. There's a rule around Hamvention that the general chair can only be fired. And I've done everything in my power to do that, and they still keep me. But that's the big thing. There was a couple of items we probably would have approached a little differently. Probably the biggest, what I would have done different is probably had that knowledge base down a little better for that. We're working on, I wouldn't say succession planning, but how to pick up the pieces when something falls apart. So that'd be my next thing for next year, is to work hard on that. We had some stuff in place, but it's really not enough.
Well, I'd say whatever you had in place for the weather, you need to repeat next year, because I think all of us were watching it like, do I want to park on the grass? Oh, it's supposed to rain Friday night. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So you handled that part well.
I claimed some good stuff on that, because Saturday morning is out there just about sunrise, about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I just went, stop, and it did. But I can't claim that. It's just great timing.
I have a picnic I may want to talk to you about in August. So,
Jim, I have a question. How many volunteers does it take to put this on for those 3 or 4 days that you're involved?
Okay, we have a general chair and an assistant general chair who, Brian Markland, my assistant, did an outstanding job of taking a lot of pressure off of me. Then we have 35 chairs, and plus another about 20 or 30 assistant chairs. So that is the core group of planning. Those are the ones that work year round. And then we have roughly 700 more people that participate during Hamvention. I've talked to the other Hamvention or Hamfest, the larger ones, and they're going, how do you do it? Because they have that same issue of getting volunteers, but they just come out of the woodwork because everybody wants to be associated with it. And we do have a lot of volunteers.
wow.
Because I noticed when Janet and I came in to the parking lot, there's all the guys and girls, the young adults, if you will, that's flagging us, go this way, go that way. And there's a lot of them, and they're all very nice, very courteous, big smiles on their face. So I think that's a good part of the reputation.
Okay, they're not actually volunteers.
Oh, they're not.
Those are all high school students that were in there helping with parking. Those are Xenia clubs, like the dance team, the cheerleaders, football, soccer, lacrosse. It's all those teams and clubs, and we pay the school a fee, and then they disperse it to those clubs as part of their fundraising. Sure. So it's double-edged, that we get good help and they get support for what they need with their school. They were also out at the remote parking lots. There were different groups out there doing that.
Oh, very cool. So Mike, what was your staying at 30,000 feet now, not anything with the booth you were in or anything else? What was your general overall feeling?
I had fun. I have a question for Jim. Maybe you don't have the answer yet. How many people attended this year, and how do you determine the attendance figures?
Okay, that's a question that was asked me Saturday morning. How many so far? We will not be announcing that for a few more weeks. It's quite an exercise, because we look at tickets sold, booths sold, number of people that were in the flea market, vendors, inside exhibitors, number of, like, how many people were in ARRL, how many this, how many that, and it's quite an exercise in numbers to come up with it. And we're working on that, but we'll be announcing that, and there'll be a general press release when we get a number. So, but I expect that in a couple of weeks or so.
Okay, thank you.
But if you had to compare it to last year, do you feel like there were more people there?
That's a tough call. People are telling me they felt that way. Friday was just amazing. As I stood there before we opened the gates and I looked down that line, last year they ran down to that pool building and went around and came just a little ways back. This year we had we opened another gate for a while, for 1 hour, so we can get people in quicker. There was quite a line over at that gate. And then from the main gate all the way down to that pool house, it turned and went up the parking lot past the tree lines where you couldn't see them anymore. And I've never seen a line that long. So I think we're going to have some pretty good numbers. I really do.
Mike, did you have another question?
No, that was it. But are you ready for my 30,000 foot view now?
Yes, please.
This is probably my 30th time, and my approach, my interests have changed a lot over the years. At first, I was so overwhelmed, I just stood in the flea market and looked around. In the move from Hera to Xenia, this is the first year that Xenia finally felt like, okay, this is the Hamvention now. The first couple of years, it just didn't seem right. And I know Hera was a dump, and I know it's gone now, but you know, that I was there for, I don't know what, 25 times at least. So now to me, Xenia finally feels like this is okay now. And I realize that it's better than Hera in many ways. My main, what can I say? For me, the best part about Hamvention is it's all about fellowship. It's meeting the people live and in person that you only get to see one time a year. People from overseas who just come over for this. For me, it's all about the people. Looking at the new shiny new toys and the old junk in the flea market is fun. I spent Friday and Saturday morning at ARRL checking cards. I'm a DXCC card checker. But for me, it's all about the people. It's a 3-day party, a 3-day social event.
So you had a good time then. That's great.
I did. I stayed up past my bedtime every night. I ate too much. I tried not to drink too much, but maybe drank a little too much. But yeah, I really had a blast. I really did.
Well, good. So Joe, what about you? General overall feeling?
I thought it was great. I didn't go Friday because I was at the hotel for the DX dinner. Saturday, everyone told me, Jim, going back to your comment, that Friday it was just wall-to-wall people, big attendance. And then when Jen and I went out Saturday, I thought the crowd had decreased, but it was certainly crowded, and we could get through the buildings and talk to the vendors. The flea market, I met Mike out in the flea market, and it was dry for a change, so that was a plus. But I thought the whole thing, I really liked Xenia. I never did like Hera Arena, but I really like Xenia. The place is very neat and clean, and seems to be very accommodating. These people, I guess they have to clean these buildings out and make them presentable for us. And if that is the case, they do an excellent job. So my hat goes off to Jim and the whole DARE operation that puts this off.
Yeah, you what your comment about the cleanliness is that the Expo Center is growing. This year they have exploded with shows. They've had some major shows there, and the future looks really bright. So there's possibilities that we may see some vast improvements in the next couple of years due to that, because they're really doing good. They had the 2 weeks before our show, they had the World Affair, which was always downtown Dayton, well attended, and it's a food event, so the buildings were clean. So we benefited from that a little bit, but they've done a really good job, and they're growing, and it's getting better and better all the time.
Mike,
the food event, is that this thing that used to be at the Dayton Convention Center right by the Crown Plaza the same weekend as Hamvention in the past?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting.
I can't say their plans or anything, but I think the Expo Center is looking for major usage changes. I know it's busier and busier. They've got shows every weekend now, where before they had a couple of months. Now every weekend he's got multiple shows on that weekend.
wow.
So they're really getting well known now.
So the overall general feel, and I guess, Jim, how did you feel? I mean, in all fairness, you're also a ham. How did you feel about the weekend?
Well, I don't get to Hamvention much.
Right.
To answer Joe's question earlier, you're right. I thought Saturday felt a little smaller, and I'm seeing that trend all the way around. I think of the other shows that first day is huge, next day is a little bit smaller. Depends upon the show. And we're one of the few that has a 3-day show. So Sunday was light, but we expect that. And we let people in for free. And we got a lot of families that came out that I saw and talked to that would not have come if they didn't get in free, because they didn't know what it was about. So I think that was a good plus. Saturday, what I saw was, because of the rain in the morning, people stayed away and came later. The influx was almost steady through the morning, where rather than have that huge big rush at the first, we did have a fair rush, but I just kept seeing cars come in and people coming in clear up to noon and after. So I think that was part of the feel. People came, maybe some of those left and the other people came in. I don't know, but it seemed like a steady flow of people.
You know, on the parking bill, talking about the crowd size, where I parked Saturday, I had never parked before. I was way out, not complaining about it, because, the golf cart is in, but the parking lot was very full Saturday.
Yeah, and on Friday, we're trying to figure out if we're going to have to start sending people to the remote lots. Because even we've got a light. You may have been up a ways, but there's a lot that's really up there. And that's an underutilized lot, which if people were smart, they'd come in that way because they'd get in faster. But that one was about a quarter full on Friday. So that meant that they were having to flow them clear up to the longest lot. And that was I loved that.
Yeah. And I know there was one or several VE testing sessions going on. Any idea how well those went?
There were 314 tests given, and interestingly enough, it split straight down between pass and fail. So really? It was a 50-50. Wow. When he told me that, I thought, well, that's interesting. I don't think I've heard that one before. And I think that part of that is due to the fact that it is a free testing session, and people can just walk in and test. And if they're not ready, they just come in and test anyway. I think there's some of that, but but I don't know. But we offer 2 days of testing.
Yeah, I'm always curious about that. So Mike, you were in the ARRL booth, and that's where I saw you. And there seemed to be, I was out Saturday early until the DX forum at 11:30, I guess. And the building seemed, it wasn't uncomfortable. There were a lot of folks there, but it wasn't swamp. But how did your experience go in the booth? And did you have a lot of folks stop by? And
Friday morning, all I saw was a nonstop stream of QSL cards before me. I can't count them up. I have, those are all the QSL applications I did Friday. I was busy the whole time. When I did look up, there were always people. Saturday was much slower. I was still there from 8 until 12:30. It never seemed crowded. It was always busy. There were always people going through. There were a lot of conversations going on, but it never seemed wall to wall rush hour traffic in the big city packed.
Right.
The guys, the ARRL staffers, all seemed to be in a pretty good mood, so they seemed happy with the way things were going. I didn't hear anybody complaining under their breath, which happens a lot, So I think in the ARRL booth they had business both mornings. I wasn't there either afternoon, so I don't know what happened then.
Okay. And Joe, did you have a chance to go through any of the buildings? And
Yes. Yeah, Jen and I went through quite a few of the buildings, talked to the suppliers, stuck around ICOM because I'm sort of an ICOM guy, as you can see, and DX Engineering. They had given us over the years a lot of equipment for de-expedition. So Steve Hammond, who is retired now, he was there. So we chatted with him for a good bit. Yeah, we had fun going through the buildings. Mike?
DX Engineering, I cannot count how many DX Engineering gift certificates I saw given out over the weekend. Those guys really support the hobby in a nice way.
Yeah,
they do.
I'll have to agree with that. They're huge, and they were our platinum sponsor this year. So they give a lot of prizes. I'd say over half of the top level prizes came from them, if not all of them.
wow.
So they were really good. And I went by the booth several times and looked, and they were doing great business. All our cashiers were busy, usually with 4 or 5 people in line. So they were really cooking.
Well, one thing Joe taught me years ago is I took the program from the DX dinner, and I tried to find every vendor and just say, hey, you sponsored the DX dinner last night. Thank you for that. Don't know why I didn't win, but that's a secondary issue. But yeah, DX Engineering was all over the place. That was really terrific. And those guys are all, just fun hams to chat with. So the one thing I didn't get to do is go to the Kenwood booth to see. I had a TSA 30, I don't know, 25 years ago, and I haven't really looked at anything with Kenwood since then. And unfortunately, they had a lot of folks there. So I don't know if they announced something new or just a lot of general interest. I didn't get to stop and spend any time at their booth.
They introduced their new HT.
Okay.
I believe so. At least that's what I remember seeing, I believe.
They did. It's a replacement for the TH-74. I wandered through before it opened, and there was nobody there, but they had one. It's 2 meters, 220, 440 with APRS. So that was their new toy.
Do you have it there on the desk you can show us, or?
No, but I did get a brochure. I have a friend who's very interested in things like that, so I picked up a brochure and scanned it and emailed it to him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this was actually their first show since before COVID.
Yeah.
And when I went past their booth, guys, they were busy talking. I didn't stop in and chat with anybody because I figured they was trying to make some money, so I let them alone. But they seem to be busy for sure.
Yeah. So I'll switch gears a little bit because the thing I was most involved in, I guess, was the DX dinner. And I believe all 3 of you were at the DX dinner. So just some general impressions of that. I from the top down, we sold 370 tickets. The place was any more than 370, I think would have been a problem. So it was, but we pretty much kept things on track, kept it on time. myself included, behaved ourselves. And so I think overall it went pretty well. And I heard a comment about rubber chicken, but I got an email today about next year's dinner. How do I get on the mailing list? I heard it was terrific. And so that's always a good sign. Mike, I know you're at the dinner, and you know, one thing I really liked what you did. I said hi to you, and you said hi to me, and you said, I'd like to stop and talk. There's just other people I need to catch up with as well, or something. And I thought, you know, that's terrific, because that's why we're there. And too many times, you know, people get cornered, not cornered in a negative way, but, you know, you end up talking to somebody, all of a sudden the dinner's starting. And so I thought you blew me off in a very classy way. And I applaud you for that.
Well, I tried to be polite about it, but
yes,
I mean, I know where to find you if I want to talk to you. And there are other guys, you know, guys from overseas that I don't get to chat with on a regular basis. I had a great time. I haven't been to the DX dinner in probably 20 years. I didn't realize we had assigned seating. And I don't know what I would have done differently had I known. But I wound up sitting next to a couple guys that are my neighbors here in Minnesota. And, you know, I can talk to them anytime. Usually when I go to one of these things, I go down and I'll sit down with somebody that I've never seen before, somebody that I don't know, and then I get to know them. I really enjoyed Adrian's presentation. He's funny. That was great. That was very well done. I like that we did not waste too much time with speeches and other stuff. The DXCC countdowns, I think that's important, and I think that's an essential part of any DX gathering. I like that he didn't drag it out too much, so that was good too. I had a good time. It was fun,
good.
Despite the rubber chicken. I mean, the rubber chicken was okay, you know.
Yeah.
I can't make it for 400 people and have it come out perfect every time, you know. So it was fine.
Okay, good. Joe?
I thought the meal was fine. A lot of my comments are going back to Mike's here, but it's I've been going there, I guess, 35 years, and there's a lot of people that I see every time, and of course it gets a little sad when you don't see one of your old buddies again, you know, who's passed away. But yeah, I really enjoy the dinner, and Bill, congratulations to you for being our leader, putting that on. You just did a fantastic job organizing all that. So I thought it was great, and Adrian's speech was very good. Matter of fact, I told him when I woke up, he sounded great, and he got a big kick out of that. He says, "I'm going to use that line in the future." So, yeah, and the drinks are always good.
Yeah, and you know, that's 2 years in a row where people have made comments to me about the speaker. We had, you know, K0MD 2 years ago and Adrian this year, and it does kind of underscore the fact that that's what's really important, is people can go and they can fellowship and they can listen to that. And if maybe they're not that thrilled with the chicken, okay, but
Yeah.
So Jim, I didn't get a chance really to talk to you at the dinner, and I was really appreciative you were there, because I imagine you had a few things that you had to stay on top of, but hopefully you enjoyed yourself and you were able to relax a little bit.
Yeah, I only had to step out of the room twice during dinner to answer something, so it wasn't that bad. But it was actually an opportunity, because I had my friend from Germany, Uli, DL8OBQ, and he was staying at my house, and I saw him about 3 times, even though he was staying in the house, and gave me time to talk to him there and get around a table of other people that actually I didn't know, hardly, maybe 2 or 3 other people at the table, which was okay, and that's a good thing. And got to speak to a lot of people beforehand, and I did scoot out not too long after it was over, because occasionally I do need to take a nap. So, but I thought it was a really good as usual. I mean, it's always a good thing. My winning streak continues at 0.
Oh.
And But I did win some stuff because Uli won one of them, and he left a few things for me.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so that worked out.
Well, I have the same winning streak, but I ended up with the Bird 43 watt meter because my wife was there, and she was the second name pulled.
Yes, I did yell fix, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
I heard that.
I did. But
oh my goodness.
I didn't think the chicken was that rubbery, but it was at that point I would have eaten probably the bone if I had to.
It was tough. And it's always nice because Jay always remembers to get a round of applause for the folks that work there. And they always seem genuinely touched. Like I don't think too many groups do that. So they seem to be very appreciative of the fact that we did that. So I don't know if you all had a chance to attend the DX forum on Saturday, and I may be the only one in the group that was able to do that. I'll touch on the two highlights I think we had was the first presentation. I'm going to look away here. Was FT8WW. It was presented remotely by F6 Echo X-Ray Victor. And it was the connection was so solid, you would have thought he was there. It's like he would say, okay, I'm going to move to this slide, and it would appear. And we were kind of like, how's he doing this? Yeah. And he kept apologizing, but his English was really good. And it was very well received, and the place was packed. There were a lot of folks at the forum, which was good. And then that rolled over, just to recap, T88WA Palau was next. That was a very good presentation. And the moderator, Jay, K4ZLE, one of the things he said was what all four of them have in common is these aren't just you go somewhere and set up. There's a lot of work to get there. T88 ran into an issue where they had to change their dates on the other end. The hotel wouldn't accommodate them. The airlines wouldn't accommodate them. They ended up thinking they were going to have to sleep in a park, and then they found somewhere else, and they finally found a place, and that was really interesting. And then they had a typhoon roll in. Jay presented on Sable Island, CY0S. That was really entertaining and very well done. And then we wrapped up with Adrian with Bouvet, 3Y0J. And I always feel bad for Adrian because I know there's got to be 5 or 6 hours worth of material he could cover on that. And he was held to about 30 minutes. So I believe at Visalia, they kind of turned him loose and said, go for it. And I think he talked upwards of 2 hours, which is a little bit different like at our dinner and certainly different at the forum. But his 30 minutes, he got a rousing applause, and that went really well. So I'm hoping, certainly the Crozet Island, the first one, I have that one on video. I'm waiting on permission that I can post that. So as soon as I can do that, I'll get it out there. And it's really, really well done, very entertaining. The only feedback I've gotten from the dinner, and I guess hopefully I have a good audience, there were a number of people that couldn't understand why Crozet was not the DXpedition of the year. I had 3 emails to that point, and the technical reason is that the DXpedition has to conclude by the end of February. And when he started back up in March, but he had not left the island, he was still there, it was still considered the very same DXpedition. So he will be eligible next year, but that's why he didn't fall into this year. So I can tell you it was Joe's committee, and we discussed it at length, and we made sure all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, and it turned out that way. So it was really good overall. So as I said earlier, go ahead, Joe.
On the 503, the person that won it, were they local? Do you know?
The 503, the 705.
I'm just.
Yeah, I've got it here somewhere. N4IW, I think it is.
Okay, no, no.
Yeah. So and I also have it somewhere else here, but what was the large ICOM radio? 7610. That was also won by someone here in the States. So yeah, that's how that worked out. So well, anyway, like I said, I didn't want to belabor the point. I just kind of wanted to get some momentum while we were all together. So Jim, any follow-up or anything you want to comment on what we've talked about here? Or
well, just let you know, I'm glad that they didn't have any issues with the DX forum. I was concerned about that. We did have a pre-check with Jay to be sure that He knew how to do what, and everything was working. We took extra pains to be sure. The IT chair made sure that that was all going to work. And we actually decided early in the month to upgrade those TVs in that specific room at our expense, because we didn't feel what was there was adequate. So we invested some dollars in making that happen, and I think it was successful in doing that. I haven't heard any complaints. I was looking on Facebook and kind of going through some of the stuff on Hamvention that was out there. And one of them caught my eye particularly. He was talking about that he had a great time and all this, and he tried really, really, really hard to find something negative to say, and he just couldn't find it. So I'm glad. I'm sure there's some negative comments out there, but all in all, I think we had a really good show, and I'm glad people enjoyed it. That's what we're here to do, to have that camaraderie from around the world. And this year we had more international people than we've had in quite a few years. So our international dinner was 4 times the size of the prior year.
Wow.
So that was really good.
Well, Jim, be sure and thank all your committee and subcommittees for all their hard work and dedication, because we certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, and to 2 of your points, at the forum, throughout the entire 2 hours, there was an IT guy somewhere very, very close. And every time maybe the audio didn't look right, and they were on their way up front. So they really did a bang up job. And I appreciate you upgrading those monitors. And like I said, it was like he was there. So it was, the network coming in was fine. The monitors were great. The AV was great. Everyone was very comfortable, and I think they had a good time. So good decisions there, that's for sure.
While they were laying in the box on the stage there all week long, I kept backing my car up, and it just wouldn't fit in my trunk to take it home. So no, just laying there on the floor, I could see that there was going to be a big improvement. So
I must have a bigger car, because I had no trouble going home.
So how big were they, Bill?
Oh, they're pretty big. I got a pretty good wingspan, and I could carry them. So
those were 85-inch TVs.
Is that what they were?
Wow.
Wow. There were a lot of people there, so that was great. Mike, any follow-up thoughts? Or
I didn't make it to the DX forum this year. I intended to sneak out of my Saturday card checking assignment so I could get there, but I couldn't, because the ARRL staffers left, and I was the only one left. I didn't want to leave. They were speaking in another forum. But I've been in the past. The forum rooms are nice. They are really, really nice. Huge improvement over what we had before. I very much wanted to see the Crozet. So I really hope that gets posted somewhere soon. That would be a fascinating one.
Yeah, it was very good.
And I was lucky. I worked them, so I'm happy about that. The other, all the Hamfest folks that we had to deal with, I thought were very nice and pleasant. And that's, I guess, that's about it.
Did you attend anything other than Hamvention that you wanted to mention, or?
No, I just, I got there Thursday, went out for dinner with some friends, went to the DX dinner Friday night. Saturday night, walked down to a restaurant, and with a couple of friends on our way out, we met a bunch of other hams and sat down at their table and snitched some of their food. And on our way out, we found another table full of hams. 2 of the guys I went to Pitcairn with, so we had to stop and talk to them. So, like I said, it's all about fellowship. And that was stuff like that is what I enjoyed the most.
And then you had the FOC dinner on breakfast.
The breakfast on Sunday morning at the Hope Hotel. That was nice. We had a lot of overseas guys there, and that was a fun way to wrap up the weekend.
Cool. And that's one thing Jim said I wanted to follow. We had 13 different countries represented at the DX dinner. So I think maybe the travel bans they're addressing some pent-up demand now or something. But I went back as far as I could. Couldn't find that many previously at a DX dinner, so there were a lot of folks there. Joe, any follow-up?
No, I don't think so. It was a great weekend. I planned the weather out for everybody, so I'm glad that worked out. But no, it was a great weekend. Looking forward to next year.
All right, I am as well. I'm ready to go. So I think Jim will take a little more time to recharge, but and he'll be. And then when he's done this time next year, he'll be just in time to run for Sodexo president again, just to be a bookend. So I think that's the way to do it. That's certainly, I think, a great goal. So
yeah.
Well,
your goals and my goals are slightly different.
His goal is to get you to take over for him, so he doesn't have to do it another day.
I have neither the patience nor the skills to do that, so that's never going to be an issue. I'm sure you got plenty of guys queued up though, right?
Oh no. I had an interesting thing happen to me on Monday. Monday is cleanup day and paperwork day, and very few of us were at the fairgrounds. But as I was heading over the fairgrounds, I was hungry, so I actually it wasn't 6 o'clock in the morning. This was 9:30, and I thought, wow, I really slept in. So I stopped at a restaurant on over by the Fairfield Mall and had breakfast. And as I was paying the bill, she goes, "Oh, are you heading home?" I go, because evidently there have been a bunch of people stopping for breakfast on their way to the airport or heading home. So I said, "No, I'm going to go home in about 3 hours to my home to cross the highway." So, but I just thought that was funny.
You got a reputation, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah, this time next year, you won't be able to go anywhere. So, well, as always, gentlemen, I appreciate your time. It's always great to get together and just kind of talk, and especially about the Hamvention. It was a hoot. I really enjoyed it. I saw some folks I hadn't seen in years. And I'll tell you the other thing I appreciated was the app, because I'm not someone who walks well, and I don't like to walk a distance if I don't have to. And the app was terrific. I could find the vendors I wanted and the booths I wanted, et cetera, and kind of drill down to it. So I don't know who on your group or staff has that responsibility, Jim, but I thought it was very well done. It was a great way to navigate something that large.
We actually do that in conjunction with Orlando and ARRL. We take thirds on that. And it's put together by ARRL with our input and our desires. We added a few things this year, which you were talking, the flea market. Last year, we didn't have the flea market vendors in there, and some of the inside vendors weren't there. And there's a few other things that we threw in, and it's a continuous improvement, like you know. So hopefully we'll get suggestions and make it even better.
Great. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great Memorial Day, and I appreciate your time, and I'll be in touch. 7 threes.
7-3.
Bye-bye.
I'm waiting.
Oh, 73 OM. See you in the pileups.
There it is.
Way to go, Mike.
Wow, I'm ready to order tickets for the 2024 DX dinner and the Hamvention. How about you? Thank you for joining us on this edition of the DX Mentor. And of course, I'd love to especially thank our gurus, Joe, WAGEX, Mike, W0VTT, and Jim, AB8YK. I would love to have your feedback, answer your questions, and provide help with any DX or amateur radio issues that you may be having. If you need clarification on something or you just have a question, drop me a note at thedxmentor@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter using @thedxmentor handle. Please drop me a line if you've achieved an all-time new one, receive recognition, or have a DX event that you would like us to mention. We'd be happy to do that. And as always, 7-3 for this episode, and thanks to my XYL Karen for her love and support. I'll see you in the pileup.